Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and the Sounds in Cinema podcast.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Friday the 13th edition. We start anew. Today we talk Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man wondering exactly how many boobs are in this movie, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello, Tom.
You big dildo, eat your fucking slop.
I unabashedly really like Mama in this movie. And I think what I like more than anything is the actor, because I know she's improvising and
Totally. Yeah.
she's like George Carlin. George Carlin could curse in a way where just the curse is funny, and she does the same thing in this movie.
Yeah.
And I find it quite charming.
Yeah, you've anticipated exactly what I was going to say. Out of interest, have you seen Only Murders in the Building?
I haven't started season 3 yet, but
Okay.
yes.
Well, you'll know what I'm talking, and I wanted to bring it up because there was a terrible hit piece on Martin Short in the media recently.
I know. It really bothers me.
It, particularly irksome, given that he is the main reason, the only kind of compelling reason to watch that show. It's like, why would you do a hit piece on him? Selena Gomez is right there. She sounds like she's having a stroke when she speaks. But
We'll add her to the list of people you hate. Fine.
but I think it's the very first season, Martin Short's character is, he's talking to Steve Martin about how his girlfriend is interfering in their preparations for the podcast. And he said, how can I put this kindly? She's being reverse helpful. And that's that's exactly what I think about Mama. It's like there's a reverse poetry to the cursing
Right, yeah.
in the film. It's almost kind of sublime.
Oh, I think it reaches sublime.
Yeah. Almost.
Less so for Junior.
Well,
So they're the broadest comedy in this film, and they're always together.
these two are in their own movie, right?
They're in their own movie. Totally, yes.
A hillbilly horror
Self-contained.
movie where they are the
Yes.
killers.
Absolutely.
It is a shock to me that of the potential suspects in this whodunit, it didn't turn out to be one of them.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting with A New Beginning. We have Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, a 1985 movie, directed by porn man Danny Steinman.
Yeah.
So, High Rise, The Unseen, Savage Streets. These are the only other, commercial kind of movies? I don't know. I don't know what to call them.
Exploitation / porn, and I expect it's an and/or situation.
Probably. It's, well, listen, we're going to get to it, but I have lots to say. First, let's start with 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that might even feel generous to some people.
Sure, no, I think that's still well, all of these ratings are low.
Mm-hmm.
I guess relative to the others, it's about right, but
This makes more sense than the others.
it's still much higher.
I mean, to have part 4 only have like 6% more than this movie is ridiculous. But as derided as this movie is, as much as the fans did not like it and made their hatred known, on a budget of $2.2 million, an opening weekend of $8 million, I'm sure that really helps. It's like that when you get the $8 million right away before people know what they're seeing.
particularly important for this film
Yeah.
because
And well, in the USA and the world, $21.9 million. So
we have
again, profitable.
we have another Halloween parallel here
Oh.
because like Halloween 3 tried to go
Oh, yeah,
go it without Michael Myers. This movie's trying to go it without Jason.
Right.
And
You're right.
they were both similarly deceptive
Yes.
in making it seem as if
I would
this
say
movie,
this one
much more,
maybe
yeah.
less so.
What? No.
Well, it says a new beginning right in the title.
What? Now who's being naive?
Come on.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe you just said that with a straight face. It says a new beginning. How is that different from it saying the final chapter? We don't believe that. Why would we believe this? No, but you know we'll talk about
Well,
it.
on top of that, in the opening credits, you get a different mask immediately.
It's only until
That's telling you something, Tom.
well, I don't know if it is. I don't think there should be a mask there at all.
Well, obviously not once you get to the end of the film.
But this is a movie that only reveals it's not a Jason movie 5 minutes before the end.
Yeah.
Which I think beats our standing record of Omen 4: The Awakening, which I believe was 8 minutes before the end of the movie before it revealed.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It was, that's an inversion as well, because that movie revealed it was a sequel, not a reboot. Whereas this reveals it's a reboot, not a sequel. 5 minutes before the end of the movie.
Where to begin?
Well, let's begin with the title.
As always, we have the old school Paramount logo, and then we're walking to a grave in the cold rain, cold open.
Well, I just want to say, like, even just reading the title of the movie, this title is amazing. It contradicts both itself and the title of the last movie simultaneously. So we have a clunky continuation of the franchise before the movie even begins. Just in reading the title, you know something's up. Yeah, it begins in media res with a synthesis of all the chase sequences in the series. There's a storm, it's nighttime, we're in the woods, there's flashlights, there's boots. It's all the imagery from the previous four
from
movies,
all the movies,
writ large across the screen. And the movie wants you to think that we're going to continue with Jason as our killer. Then it wants you to think that we're going to pick up with Tommy as the killer, and neither will be vindicated. It's a deliberately misleading cold open.
Well, based on what happens at the end of 4, you're going to walk into 5 thinking one of two things are going to happen.
Right.
Either Jason gets resurrected or Tommy becomes your killer. And this movie is going to throw, well, yeah, I'll say it, like it's throwing cold water on the Tommy aspect. Certainly Tommy as we knew him, because we're going to have a fake out. A big ass fake out is this cold open.
Right. We're explicit. We're
Because
told
we're going to see Corey Feldman, but he's going to, the character of Tommy is going to wake up from a dream.
Exactly. So we're following the trajectory of Tommy as the new Jason, and there's potential for Jason himself to be resurrected. So, like you said, there's two options of how to continue the series, neither which will be done by this film, but we're going to steal one for the next one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
The pre-credit sequence is the film we want to see. Unfortunately, it's a nightmare in an alternate reality.
And suffice to say, we got grave robbers.
Yeah.
I also love, by the way, I believe that Danny Steinman says that this was filmed in the back of Corey Feldman's house.
Yes.
Corey Feldman says this is filmed in the back of his neighbor's house. But
I love the idea
whichever
that
one
Danny
it
Steinman
is,
thinks he's been to Corey Feldman's house. And Corey Feldman's like, no, don't let that fucking creep anywhere near my house. Ask one of the neighbors if they'll do it.
oh man,
I'm still a child. I don't want to hang around with a man like that.
I don't want him anywhere near me.
And so we have the older Tommy waking up.
Well, but let me say this
Okay.
too before we start. I'll say that I think as a scene, it works pretty well. Right up to the moment where Tommy wakes up. Like,
Yeah,
because
because
you have some
it's where
atmosphere.
you
You've
think-
got
Oh no, it's replicated at the beginning of the next movie.
Yeah, right.
It's how the next movie begins, so it clearly works.
Well, but I think in moments we're going to be giving. It's possible we might give Danny Steinman some shit in this movie, but I'll stick up for him in the sense of like he can create some shots that are effective and work well.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. From that point of view, I'd agree.
All right. I wrote, Tommy's old.
Tommy's old, so obviously
we got time, and then I wrote we got timeline problems.
Yeah, we caught up with the timeline, and now we're we fucked that up again.
We fucked that up because now like the funniest part is that now we would have to be like
we're in the 90s,
2005.
No, we're in the 90s.
Well, how old do you think he is? I guess you're right. Maybe it's not that. But it's like somewhere between 98 and 2000.
No, it was 80. It was 84.
You would think he's what, 25 years old?
No, he's not supposed to be that. I know the actor clearly is, but he's not supposed to be that old. He's supposed to be late.
Oh, how old is he
I think
supposed to be?
17? Late teens, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's
so not quite that far.
I'm not questioning your ability to.
Then he's in the 90s.
Yeah, I'm not questioning your ability to look at a person and say that is a 25-year-old man, because that's exactly true. But I don't think in world he's supposed to be that old.
All right,
he's
fine.
Treated as.
But he's damn close to being able to watch Frasier on TV. There's no sense that that's where we are.
No.
On film.
Which is good that we're like in the country, because,
right.
If we were in a city, it'd be like the Jetsons.
A metropolis, yes.
The countryside could still, because the countryside's pretty much the way it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
we'd be seeing Top Gun posters on billboards and shit.
The other big problem is, I can't state this definitively enough. Older Tommy.
Go ahead.
Older Tommy looks nothing like Corey Feldman.
No. Yeah.
And it doesn't help that Corey Feldman's in the film. So it's supposed to be a point of comparison. It also doesn't help that Corey Feldman, as a grown-up, looks like a tall Corey Feldman.
Yeah, I know. He has not changed at all.
He's not. He's just longer.
Yeah. But barely.
Yeah.
Oh man!
So there's a few timeline obstacles here, and then we're straight into drivers reading porn.
Mm-hmm.
A director from a porn background already minding the opportunities for nudity on screen, even if it's only in printed form. And this is where we realize, we've taken the third option out of the two.
Right.
Out of the two options we had, we've taken the third option, which is simply we pick up Tommy with post-traumatic stress disorder at an older age, and no Jason. So he's not a serial killer.
They've been given a choice. Would you like A or B? I'll take 3, please.
It's the sort of like it's the can I have a Coke? Is Pepsi okay?
Yes.
Well, that's not one of the options, right? My option is Pepsi or is Coke or nothing.
Yeah, right.
Or my throat goes dry. And then I can't remember. My notes are my only record of how the movie actually opens, because he arrives at the mental institution and then we go into the titles. That doesn't seem right. Is that what happens?
I can't believe you said that, because I was looking at my notes and I said Tommy wakes up, there's timeline problems, followed by we're still blowing up shit credits.
Wow.
And I thought, is that right?
Well, we've both written it down.
We see him wake up and then we go to credits?
Yeah, it must be.
Okay.
That must be what happened. So I mean, you've said that it's a different mask. Still a hockey mask, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's promising the return.
Blue
of Jason.
marks instead of red marks.
That's promising the return.
Blue marks instead of red marks.
So you think that the
we could both keep saying the same thing over and over, but I'm saying it's a different mask, and that is a visual clue that something else is going on.
But it's still a hockey mask, which is iconic of Jason. So you're telling the audience that Jason's going to be in the movie. Unless you think it's a coded message where having the Jason mask go onto the audience face means anyone could be Jason, even you.
I think I would have said it like this. The movie is promising that a type of Jason is in the movie.
So again, like as with Halloween 3, the problem is not content, it's marketing.
Right.
And in the titles, something else I noticed is a special appearance by Corey Feldman, which reminded me that this is the first Friday sequel not to feature footage from the last film.
Yeah,
the closest we get are audio clips. That not Corey. That's
Corey a big departure
Feldman,
from.
Yeah, it's a huge departure. Not Corey Feldman. His clips from the previous movies in his head sometimes, but that's it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a stylist. You know, obviously it's a new beginning. I always feel I feel such a politician phrase, isn't it? That's
it really is.
You know, politicians just been elected. It's a new.
Well, if you'll notice, I did call it a new beginning.
It's a new
Today I find it difficult to believe that people thought that Jason would be there when I explicitly told you something new was beginning.
Right.
That's a very politician answer,
isn't it? That's the clunkiness of the title. Is the cinematic equivalent of a politician answer.
Absolutely.
Put that on the poster. And then we arrive at Pinehurst.
So it's a halfway house. I mean, you keep calling it. Yes, it is. It is. They specifically, well, maybe not in the movie, but they specifically refer to it as a halfway house in the Crystal Lake Memories.
But halfway from what to what?
Like he had been released from the loony bin. There's lots of halfway houses. You know what a halfway house is. What's the matter with you? So you're not allowed to exactly go out in public on your own.
Right.
But you don't have to be in the actual mental institution. We're going to guide you into life outside in the halfway house.
Well, that's not...
You're going to have to do chores.
You're going to have to help. No one in that camp is ready to transition back into the real world.
No, I agree with you completely. So this movie is the total opposite of the last movie. The last movie said, let's introduce you to characters like teens that are quirky, fun, nice, cool. You're going to like them, and then you're going to hate to see them die. This movie, I think because of one Danny Steinman and his background's like, let me introduce you to some crazies, and most of them you're going to be happy to see die.
Yeah, except that they also want what they got from having a camp full of teenagers at the same time. So that's why this halfway house is co-ed, which wouldn't happen. And two of them are nymphomaniacs. So
right,
we're trying to have our cake and eat it. We're trying to get all the traditional pleasures of a Friday the 13th demographic.
Sure.
But also, this be I'll use the term halfway house. I'm not sold on this yet. I really thought the way it's positioned in the movie is that this is an alternative to an institution. That like this is a liberal experiment to how you could do mental health care. There's no sense that anyone is leaving this place to function in the real world.
But that's the thing. They could leave this place, and people do. Some kids go to fuck, they get caught by Mama
but they're not supposed
Junior.
They're not supposed to be doing that. That's them escaping. That's not...
Yeah, I know, but
being released.
You know, the difference between an institution and a halfway house is you are afforded trust.
Right.
These kids are breaking it all the time because they're terrible monsters, according to the movie, I think.
I agree.
But Yeah.
I mean, some of these kids are called names I wouldn't call my worst enemy. So okay, well, we'll just leave that debate behind.
We
for a
have
second.
to agree to
Now,
disagree,
but
perhaps.
what is objectively true is that Pinehurst is run by, and I'll borrow the phrase from Indiana Jones Minute, lifetime movie Indiana Jones, also known as Fedora,
Well, Fedora.
which is appropriate for this movie that feels like a fan fiction version of Friday the 13th, that we have like a fan fiction Indiana Jones in the movie.
Well, it's funny because I really actually quite like the actor, and I remember him from Friday the 13th, not from this, but from Indiana Jones.
Sure.
But I also more primarily remember him from An Innocent Man
Okay.
with Tom Selleck. He plays a dirty cop.
I feel like that movie's come up a number of times,
And
I don't quite know why.
because it's good, I tell you. Good.
And what version of a franchise character does he play in that?
He's just your basic dirty cop.
Oh, okay.
But he's
Lieutenant Eckhart. Yes. Okay.
he's partnered with David Rash.
Who's David Rash?
What would you know? He's
What would I know him from?
you God damn it. He's
Is 48 Hours
whoa
Stakeout.
no, but he's in Succession.
Who's he playing Succession?
He's the blonde, tall lawyer in Succession.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yes.
He's in some of Armando Iannucci's movies. He's in The Loop and I believe Veep as well.
He's in Veep. He's I think it's called Sledgehammer. It's kind of a Dirty Harry comedy rip-off TV show.
Oh, that sounds great. He's excellent. I love
Yeah.
him.
And he's a really good actor. So
you're
yeah,
trying to make
give
the
it up.
argument that this guy is better than I'm giving credit for by mentioning a different actor and how good he is.
I'm saying he can hold his weight with David Rash. Yes.
And River Phoenix.
And River Phoenix.
And not Sean Connery.
Right.
So anyway, I mean, they have their intake interview.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Godzilla poster in the wall. There's characters appeared in at least 2 of the movies so far. So there's someone clearly on set who keeps putting in these references to Godzilla. Speaking of stuff that I like, want to stay positive where we can. I like what they set up here, that Tommy's recovery has been hampered by the drugs he's been given.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the use of his file as a way to do exposition.
Well, I'm glad you said that instead of the character saying "anytime, doll" and then sticking out his tongue like he's gonna lick a pussy.
Yes, that is. That's the fly in the ointment of that particular.
If
scene.
that's the part you said you liked, I'd be worried.
We get a great impasse here. Mother and sister in the picture frame.
Yeah.
He's looking at got a new cast with a different actor playing Tommy, but he's looking at legacy actors via the medium of photographs.
It is a sequel.
It is a sequel after all.
As sequels dictate.
And this is about where we get the introduction of Reggie the Reckless, I think.
Reggie, yeah.
Because
Because he's going to do the fake spider bit.
That's right, the rubber spider. So there's another prankster in our midst.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Reggie?
I mean, it's funny because every time I see Reggie, I think to myself, I recognize that kid. I remember him from stuff.
Give me a break.
Probably.
Hunter.
Definitely different strokes.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that from the document from Crystal Lake Memories as well. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
You know what was really funny was? During the watching the movie, I was like, they're really trying to cash in on the sort of the success of Different Strokes. And then watch Crystal Lake Memories funny. He was in an episode of Different
He was
Strokes,
actually in it.
It's not as theoretical as it once seemed.
That's good.
Well, what do you think?
I also,
What do you think about it? Oh yeah, you were answering my question, so go ahead.
I think he's one of those kind of characters that you probably either love or hate.
We've talked
For
about this. That can mean only one thing: that you despise them.
no,
No, I don't
I
either.
actually,
No, I like
I
them.
think he's actually quite winning in the role.
So it's pros and cons. Pro.
I wish they'd put him in something other than all red sweats, but you know, I'm gonna.
So
But go ahead. You
well,
had a
no,
thought.
like a pros and cons, but the pros are all Reggie, and then the cons are all everything around Reggie. So
Yeah.
pros, I like the fact that this kid could be white or could be black, and they went with a black actor.
hmm
There's no reason this kid couldn't be a white kid, yet they cast a black actor.
Sure.
Great. That's excellent. I like that there's a relationship that shows parental affection between two African American characters.
Absolutely.
Still a rarity in media. Up until the early 2000s, there was like 3 or 4 examples of it in American media. One of them being Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So we had to imagine a future where that was possible.
Yeah, the other one was the Cosby Show, and we know how that turned out.
Why did he have to be a gynecologist?
God damn it.
And the cons, the fact that it's the relationship, the parental affection is with his granddad, so they're sort of playing to
Although I'm
the archetype of
like,
the absent black father, so fuck that.
yeah, right. But I'm also a little bit worried about
His brother?
grandfather in world letting Reggie be in this
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, no, I mean that's yeah.
It's troublesome.
I want to believe it's all well-meaning.
And we haven't even gotten to his brother yet.
And then his brother and the girlfriend are just, they're pure stereotypes. So, if you're just thinking about Reggie and not the baggage that comes with him,
yeah,
I think it
right.
works. I think there's
Because
a genuine attempt to make him the new Tommy as well.
And I was going to say, we were building on what the last movie did by adding a child finally into the narrative of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a kid you like and put them in jeopardy,
Mm-hmm.
you raise the stakes in a way that I think can be interesting and, be scary for an audience. And that's what you want out of a horror movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an area of continuity, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
not a beginning, but an overlap.
Yeah.
The next overlap. And the nymphomaniacs are introduced in the back of a police car.
Correct. Mom and son threaten everyone.
And this
movie's not exactly kind to the differently abled.
No, they were screwing their heads off, Matt.
Yeah.
And of course, you're like, okay, so we have a couple of nymphomaniacs because this is Friday the 13th movie, and this is how we're going to get sex in the movie.
Don't worry, there'll be plenty. We're not going to stop there, yeah.
But that's, because...
This is a Danny Steinman film.
But that's it. If you're setting it in a halfway house for troubled youth...
Look at how easily it comes to you now.
I love that that's my upgrade from mental institution. So, but you have to work quite hard to make that story to have young people having sex in and around that story. So it's like you have to make a choice for them to be co-ed. You have to make a choice for them to be nymphomaniacs amongst the afflicted.
They have to leave the premises and go find fuck spaces.
And their entrance precipitates the entrance of Ethel and her son. And again, the stereotypes are back, right? They're kind of the hillbillies.
Yeah.
So after a movie off, we go back to everyone conforming to a type, rather than an individual identification. But again, another kind of continuity with the teenagers of previous movies. Again, it's the permissiveness of the young people that brings the killer to them. So it's the
Yeah.
patients breaking the honor system.
Yeah, right.
So it's about the idea that if Fedora had been had cracked the rip a little more, these kids wouldn't have been killed.
You do have the sense. It's like, it's funny because Tommy shows up and Matt's trying to explain, hey, listen, we're all super nice here.
We shouldn't be, but we are.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you have the sense that Matt might be just a little too lenient with the kids.
Yeah.
And then a little more discipline needs to be enforced. And yet you also at times watch him put his forearm against Tommy's neck. Granted, Tommy was attacking someone at the moment, but...
Pinehurst is the worst place in the world.
It is.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
And then we're introduced... So in short succession, we're introduced to all these characters like it's a sitcom. Joey is the... I would say, like, neurodivergent, I guess is the word that you'd use today.
Okay.
He's got all the ugly fat kid stereotypes.
Yeah.
But he also gets the stereotypes of mental illness for free.
Of course, yes. And then on top of it, he's actually the character that this whole story... rests its fulcrum on.
This scene is the most important in the movie, but we have no idea
in the movie,
that's
exactly,
the case until the very end.
That's...
But it's sort of it does that really uncomfortable thing that Texas Chainsaw Massacre does, where, and you alluded to this at the beginning of this episode, it makes you hate the disabled guys so much.
Yeah.
When that you're almost cheering on their because he's none of the range of his behavior is depicted. It's just how annoying he is to other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they want to get across, because they want you to be in the position of the guy who just flips and puts an axe in his back.
Right.
And that's all awful. This is all.
It's all terrible. Awful. when they peel back
Audience
the sheet,
and
you see
characters alike.
You see how many swipes were taken into his back,
Yeah.
how many cuts, and it's
And I wonder how much.
Where was Matt's forearm then?
Well, and I also wonder whether this is a way of this is the filmmaker sort of saying, "Who needs Jason? You got
right,
you got these
yeah,
patients,
yes, exactly.
These
we've got wackos. Don't worry about it.
These nuts who are going to turn to axe murder at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So, and I want the new beginning going to be that the victims are now the perpetrators, that anyone can kill at any time. It's not just.
See, I thought the new beginning should have been that this facility would close immediately upon an axe death.
Yeah, the experiment failed.
But apparently it's just a bad day.
Oh, yeah, it's done. It's done. So
yeah,
it really is. There's really no coming back from that.
Well, we're gonna meet some paramedics, and then for some reason the T-Birds are gonna show up.
Right.
Why don't we take a break and come back?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back, everyone.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They'll try new beers. They'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
We're back once again. Tom and I are here discussing Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, the 1985 sequel directed by Danny Steinman, a man for a penchant for the not so nice people of the world, I'll say.
Yeah, his favorite subject is about to come up in a line of dialogue when the medic says, "Bunch of pussies."
So yeah, I was gonna say that's my next note, and I wrote down psychotic paramedic shows up.
You're absolutely right to make the connection between the beginning of the last movie, Part 4,
Mm-hmm.
and the use of medics in this movie, but we get the same cynicism, but now it's just broader and worse.
And worse and meaner, and
Yeah.
Like, if I was gonna pick one of those two medics to be the psychotic killer of this movie, it'd be that guy.
Well, yeah,
That's more on brand.
And when you're rewatching this after you know what's going to happen, you notice things like they talk about how Joey was an orphan. And you're like, that's an unusual thing to say, to talk about. And it's sort of like, wow, it's going to pay off quicker than you expected.
Yeah.
And as we said, we've no reason to know this at the time, but this is the most important scene in the in the movie. It's not clear where the movie's going at this point. It just right now it just seems like there's a murder virus spreading in the in the Pinehurst. And then the sort of we get you've referred to this I think in our ranking episode with the where they just spend just a little too much time looking at the face of one of the ambulance men.
Yeah.
Who will later turn out to be the killer. And it's kind of caught right between instant forgettability and melodrama, right? It just seems to be
but also pitched at a level where you don't know if you're watching something important or if the director just doesn't know what they're doing.
Exactly. And it's not that you instantly forget what happened. You kind of want to forget it.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to think about it again. You want to make that choice as a viewer to go, well, that was strange. That was fucking
That was
weird.
odd.
Let's move on to something else.
Yes.
I don't want to have to think about what that means.
Well,
so
yeah,
it's lose.
Yeah.
as far as the whodunit element of this is.
Totally.
Yeah.
Luckily, you think to yourself, well, now I have hoodlums that I can deal with, and they're having car trouble. Let me figure out why Danny Scheinman is all of a sudden in the 1950s.
Well, who's so? Oh yeah, it's one of the guys in this scene with the T-Birds who says, "As far as I'm concerned, all those loonies should be killed off one by one."
Yeah.
He's the top of my suspect list so far.
Yeah. Like I said, not a lot of kindness in this film for people struggling with mental health issues or who are differently abled.
Yeah, that's very true. Again, I don't remember what this is in reference to. Is there a rabbit in this scene as well? Or is there a rabbit coming up?
I think so. Replete in all of these movies, you have that Halloween 2 cat scare moment, and these sequels have lots of cats, and then there's a rabbit in this.
There's one in this movie.
Yeah, there's a cat in this movie as well, so they double down.
Oh, so it's like the instead of doing a real scare, you have an animal being thrown on screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That's yeah. But we've had a rabbit. There's a rabbit in part 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we get the same kinds of animals as we've seen before. I gotta say, I think the flare in the mouth is a good kill.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. There are people that go to these movies just for the kills, right? And you're looking for the next
This is a
fun,
good one for that.
innovative kills. And the idea that a flare in the mouth had never been thought of before, I give all credit, because that's pretty fucking terrible. I don't
Yeah.
think the prosthetic on the head looks quite as good as some of the work we see in this movie and with Tom Savini in
I don't think
earlier
we
films.
saw all of what they filmed either.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, again, and the counterpoint to the, oh well, this, you know, the censors cut the real meat out of the scene is there's something about that abrupt cut that comes from taking a piece of the sequence out that is in itself quite terrifying.
Yeah, right.
Like when you quickly cut away from it and it just goes into another scene. Like, obviously that's a byproduct of taking out what you actually filmed, but it creates a new language of its own.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
that still speaks to the horror of what you're seeing.
You get the initial horror of it, but you get to build it out in your mind a little bit more when they cut quickly.
Sure. You know, the idea, I don't know if this is a metaphor, but the idea of creating a smoke screen, so around this unseen killer. It's hard. I'd love to know what people thought was going on. Because I'm just reading it through the ending.
But you know, the thing about this movie too is there's little moments of miscues to me. You know, one hood leaves and then comes back, and the other guy is lying on the engine of the car, and he doesn't think to himself, "That's odd." He just gets in the front seat and is ready to start the car.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. That's really true. So then we go the morning after with there's like an awkward breakfast scene.
Well, I think right before that, doesn't Tommy take a crazy pill and then immediately see Jason out the window? And it's funny because we've talked about other movies borrowing from this series,
right.
and that moment reminded me almost exactly of the third of Halloween Ends.
Oh.
When who's looking out the window? Maybe I think it's the guy, the character that's becoming Jason, looks out the window, and there he is down there, kind of a thing.
Misplaced his name.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just, you know, it's I don't know if it's a direct homage, but it's just funny that even this that is thought of as one of the worst in the series, people might still be borrowing from it.
Well, it's a feedback loop as well, because those moments are based on the appearances of Michael Myers in Halloween, the original Halloween.
Yeah.
Not necessarily this one, but the next one where he appears in the yard is...
Yeah, I guess for some, maybe it's the angle. I mean, obviously, because it's not covered up. He's just like in the street. In the first movie, Michael Myers is kind of behind that clothesline that Jamie Lee is looking out at. But this felt very much like that Halloween Ends moment.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
But I also think it's kind of funny that he immediately sees the vision after taking his pill. It's like, man, you should have popped that thing a half hour ago. You would have been fine.
But is that... doesn't that earlier line of dialogue suggest it's the pills that are making him crazy?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't want to... Far be it from me to defend this movie's logic,
I think the movie's a little confused on that part, but...
Yeah. Also, that's not how medication works, but yeah.
Yeah. It's supposed to help.
But he should become a poor choice of words. He should become more subdued, not more crazy. But he's you know, he flips out and starts beating on Eddie.
Mm-hmm. I said he Jim Cotta's somebody's dick.
So now there's like at least 2 violent offenders.
Yeah, right.
So this is the movie wants you to think that this is a place for people who have behavioral issues, but it's people who will turn to violence at the drop of a hat. Yeah. It's not a safe place for any of these people to be.
I mean, it's not even a safe place to make a mistake.
No.
The poor kid who died by axe murder, somebody set a place for him because they're just used to setting the table, and the whole fucking room goes apeshit on her.
Yeah.
I just thought,
yes.
Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right, but...
The experiment is failing. It's time to withdraw funding.
No more funds. Yes, exactly.
And the next scene I have is another paramedic scene.
Oh, really? I had my next scene as mom relishing killing.
Oh yeah,
she's a
killing a chicken
serial killer.
She's killing the chicken on the front of the cornflakes.
Yeah, but I think it's also the moment box. She calls her son a dildo, and that's
it. That's
really dildo, funny.
You fucking slut. Absolutely. Yeah, they're having fun in their own little movie.
And I also, because that, you're gonna get another. It's funny because you get this red herring of a guy who you think, oh well, he's clearly the killer, right?
Oh, the drifter.
The drifter.
Who I think is Danny Simon. Let me check that out. Carry on talking.
So, I mean, for one, it's another funny line from Mama because she says, "Who the fuck are you? What the fuck do you want?" And he just is a sheepish man who's down on his luck, and I'll do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't stay sheepish
for a meal. No, you're right. Yeah.
He gets himself some child sex.
He's willing to clean out the shithouse, the chicken shithouse, for some food.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. Again, that's. So is that what we're supposed to think, that he's the person?
I don't think you. I think they're trying to introduce
after the murder, who is then your suspect.
Oh, I think this movie thinks you can.
Well, I know this movie. That's the problem. But in Whodunit, in Whodunit land,
right?
There has to be an established list of suspects before the movie.
Before the murder happens.
But I guess in the context of this movie, why couldn't it be this guy who's then introduced after the murders begin?
But the movie is also going to disregard that because he'll be dead 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
He's not going to be around long.
But we get another one of those weird, why are we spending so much time on Roy scenes coming up with the paramedics, because he's
right.
taking away the body of the people he killed the night before.
Wait. Oh, yes.
Roy,
you're right.
Paramedic. I understand you not remembering who Roy is.
No, I remember who Roy was. I was trying to remember who died. It's the T-Birds, right?
It's the T-Birds, yeah.
Okay.
And this scene is notable because one of the police officers says, "No, Roy, it's okay." So it's like, again, there's no compelling reason to give him a name or screen time,
right?
Unless he's the killer.
Yes.
But for some reason, your brain can't put that together in the moment.
your brain thinks they're giving an awful lot of play to this guy, and then you immediately think disregard. Get to the story.
Yeah. It's kind of like he's sort of Poochie. Right? It's like a character that the film's trying to make happen.
Yes, right.
Like the director thinks this guy's the focal point of the movie.
Stop trying to make Roy happen.
Exactly. Stop.
Straight out of Mean Girls.
It doesn't help that Roy is the name of the human version of Poochie from that episode. That goes to live with the Simpsons. The kind of cousin Oliver.
Hey, man. He's always...
Yeah, hi, Roy.
I think we're at the date and showtime.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I like...
What a revelation to me.
As with Ethel and her son.
Yes.
I think these guys are kind of playing it to the hills, but there's a life behind their performances that is quite enjoyable to watch.
I think they're both fairly natural. I think it's funny that... What's the other character's name? What's the asshole's name?
I've got him down as the orderly. I don't know what his actual name is.
Okay. But I
feel that will suffice.
They're kind of giving him... What's the asshole's name in Halloween 2?
Pass.
So at any rate,
names in horror movies don't mix.
we have two characters of like minds, but the guy from Halloween 2, he is genuinely a pretty handsome man. This guy, not so much.
No, not so much.
They're giving him that
with
level.
The best will in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. He shouldn't be pulling a woman that beautiful.
Absolutely not. Belongs nowhere near her.
But she's a little kooky herself.
She is. So
she introduces her own tits to herself in the mirror.
what a revelation, because I hadn't gotten that far in the Crystal Lake memories yet. And I can't remember what we were talking about, but I know we were talking about weird choices or something like that. And I said,
Yeah.
I had started to say, well, I got one that I'm sure I've never heard of a woman getting ready for a date by practicing surprising them with their tits. And then to hear you say, oh, that was her idea, the actor's idea. And she went to Danny Steinman with it, and he said, oh, well, of course he said, I love that idea.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you've got this woman flashing her tits while saying surprise in the mirror.
I guess it's not so much of a prize because he created the milieu in which she thought she could make that suggestion.
True. Absolutely true.
I mean, you know, gratuitous tits is nothing new in this franchise.
I wrote down
Never
it's
been as
probably
pointed before.
I wrote down it's probably the most gratuitous boobs in film history.
Yeah. And it's again like Sex and Drugs is the siren song.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this case not Jason, but whoever the killer is pretending to be Jason.
Well, you know you're in a
because he's coking up in the car.
He's coking up in
the
the car, but you always know when you're in a little bit clunkier of a film, when they're gonna waste, too much narrative film strip on him doing that, so they have it covered by him just talking to himself as he's doing the cocaine.
They're both talking to themselves.
They are, yeah.
Like, why can't they be together in the scene talking to each other?
I retract my previous statement. They're perfect for each other.
They are perfect to each other. If you actually saw them go on their date, they would just be talking to themselves in the same room as each other. Although they do show some restraint. She only perfumes her tits this time.
Mm-hmm. Not her vagina.
They were really trying to up the ante for part 2. She would stick the spray bottle inside her or something. And this is the cat scare, right?
Yes.
And now, having owned a cat and having seen them jump from high places, it's well established cats pretty much always land on their feet. The only way that the cat could land face first, the way it does here, if someone threw that cat into the
yes.
shot. So that was a thrown cat.
That's a band name.
And then, as if the scene isn't weird enough, it fades to Tommy looking crazily at chickens. This is where we get the boldest theft of anything from Halloween, I think, when he sees Jason in the yard from the window.
Yeah.
Kind of just standing there.
That's the one I'm thinking of, too. Oh, I guess that's actually the one I'm thinking of. I think the first time he sees him, it's in the mirror, isn't it?
That happens at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
He's seeing Jason all the time.
Right. But what's funny is whenever he sees him with the right mask on. So we have the red on the mask. We go back to the right mask as opposed to the wrong mask that we see as this Jason chases everybody around. I'd like one of them to turn around and say, "Are you Jason? Are you Jason? If you're Jason, I'll keep running. But if you're not, I'm going to stop right here."
And speaking of Halloween, we're spending far more time with the police than we ever have before. In
it's like Jaws in here. We're going to get the mayor in the fucking office.
And this is where it is revealed
unwisely.
He's been cremated.
Yes. That's going to come back to haunt them.
It's set up in the movie in a way that we don't believe it to be true because it's immediately challenged. It's like, how can you say that for sure? You don't know. You didn't burn him. So we go, oh, Jason might still be alive. Then the end of the movie says, okay, he isn't alive. Someone's going out using him.
So he must have been cremated.
Smokescreen. And then the next film retcons it again.
Yeah.
Because in the next film, he has to come back from the dead. So we go back to square one in terms of what we believe about Jason.
Absolutely.
Being cremated. And it's a Mandela effect of the line where they kind of in 6 where they basically spoke to the fact that he wasn't cremated, but it isn't in there. This is the only reference to it.
Correct.
So all
right.
we've got is that cop going, yeah, but if you didn't see it with your own eyes,
how do you know
it's
for
true?
sure?
That's all we have to latch onto.
With grim death, we'll hold on to that.
My next note is about an old man watching 2 young
Yep,
kids
me
fuck.
too.
So this is the Drifter.
But
guy
I also
licking his lips.
wrote, I feel like we as the audience are implicated in this, in the nastiness of what's happening.
We're implicated in the nastiness for sure. Also, how you know you're dealing with a porn director. We used to have nudity from select angles only. Now we've got coverage from every camera position: wide, close, medium. If you like drew a picture of what this looked like on set, it would be like 9 cameras in a circle.
I swear to God that I would think Danny Steinman was friends with Donald Trump, because in the behind the scenes in the Crystal Lake Memories, you hear other people talk about the uncomfortableness of this being filmed because the actor was being told, "Come on, go, grab her tits, grab her pussy, fuck her."
Yeah.
It felt like a blueprint for Donald.
Absolutely, and Frank Mancuso Jr. is just like, I wasn't there that day. The day I was there, he was perfectly.
And the editor and other people are like, "Well, what do we do right now?" He's like, "No, I don't know. Just hopefully it'll end soon."
But the kill that results from this, I think, is rather good. The tourniquet.
I also think the hedge clipper one is fantastic.
Sure. There's a lot of innovative murder methods going on in the movie, and that's not to be sniffed at.
On the woman, you get the, normally I think a horror movie would get the plunge of the hedge clippers into the eyes, and you're seeing it kind of from her view, basically, not directly up, but as though her head was floating maybe a foot in the air.
You're right.
And the hedge clippers come down, and then he snips them. He brings them closed.
Yeah.
And then when you actually see her eyes, that's good body horror right there. I mean, it's really well done.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think he's got the basics down. The shock factor and the inventive kills.
Yeah.
They don't suffer at all in this movie.
Yeah, and I like the leather strap as well. It's a good fun death.
Yeah, well, that idea of like, really thinking about what's another way we could do this, and like have it, just turning it until his head is crushed. It's great.
But then
I mean, not in reality. I mean, it's within the confines of a fictional movie.
Narratively and in practicality, I think you start to get some of the limitations of Danny Steinman, because in the next scene,
that's what it's his autobiography.
Yeah, exactly.
The limitations of Danny Steinman.
He's dead,
Stop making me feel bad about taking this low-hanging fruit.
But narratively, Grandpa sends Reggie.
Don't you feel shit now he's dead? No.
I feel just fine.
He signed off on this.
Well, but narratively, Grandpa's gonna send Reggie with Tommy, who just committed an act of violence against another person in the house, and then Danny Steinman is gonna show them driving the truck, and the music is not going to match what's going on narratively. We have very exciting music with just a truck driving down the road. And in addition, I think he repeats 2 shots. He repeats a shot twice, rather.
Yeah. Yeah, that's both in world and off screen, a lot of strange choices. And it doesn't get any better once we meet Reggie.
It really doesn't. And you know what I feel the worst about? I actually think he's quite good as an actor. It's not easy to bring up tears as you're getting killed on a shitter. I wouldn't think.
Okay.
I'm going to give him all credit.
I wouldn't think. Yeah, that's the point. You'd never be in that situation,
Exactly.
even in a film. Even as an actor in a film, you wouldn't be
You
in that
shouldn't
situation
be.
often. No. Well, I mean, he looks like a Michael Jackson body double.
He
from
really
Thriller.
does. I mean, like, to a T.
It's almost like you asked a racist to draw a black
Mhm.
person, and this is what he did.
Right.
The thing is, though, he's so I have conflicting feelings about this
Okay.
because I don't know if it's just virulent racism because there's so many racist stereotypes stacked one on top of the other, you almost lose sense of the intention. And some of them are stereotypes about other
Yes, exactly. The
races.
stereotype of the brother is going to complain about the stereotype of Mexican enchiladas.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So at some point you're just like, it's like, is this too confusing to be racist?
It's too muddled to be racist.
Yeah. I mean, this was always George Lucas's out, wasn't
Right.
it? That, like, you know, Watto isn't specifically Jewish, and you know, tell me what accent the Trade Federation is supposed to be, and you're just like, well, when you put it like that, I really
Right,
can't.
yes,
I just know in my bones that this is racist.
And it doesn't help that the character, when his girlfriend is not poking fun at him, but you know, kind of poking him, right? Not physically, but she's shaking the shit shack.
Yes.
And at a certain point, he's had enough, and he's going to resort to physical violence. He wants to beat her up. That's not a good look either. So,
By the way, that's my least favorite burger chain. It's a Shit Shack.
so like you said, the stacking.
You don't want to get a chocolate frosted from that.
I don't. Yeah, or a char burger. So, like you said, the stacking on top of the stacking on top of the stacking it becomes a bit much.
Well, right down to the fact that they seem to have some prototype of DoorDash, because they have every kind of
Yes.
junk food you could possibly want
Right.
from any cuisine. They got pizza, they got enchiladas. What else they don't they have? They have something else.
There's at least
Well,
two more things, I think.
Yeah. And why do they like? What's
the deal? I don't.
What's the deal?
I don't
Like-
imagine this woman tolerating living with him in the van.
He was like, "Baby, what do you want? What do you want to eat tonight?"
Yeah.
He's just like, just everything. Okay. I mean, that's the only way that could have happened.
Yes.
You can't
Right.
think back from that any other way.
And in the town they're in, how far apart are these places? I imagine.
And why are they living in a trailer?
Yeah. No, in the van. Right.
But are they on a? But are they on a camp? This is. I don't know if they're on a campsite or not.
No, it doesn't seem like it because they're next to.
But
I don't know. There's some building next to the
what's
shit
that
house.
shit house for then?
Just for the
Is it a
van
rest
dwellers.
stop, like a rest stop? Because it's a real like outhouse. It's not like
Yeah,
a gas station bathroom.
I know.
Oh, and we're back in the shitter as well. Like, why? We had two shit scenes in part 3.
Right.
Now we've got a guy doing doo-wop on the toilet.
Mm-hmm. Now, also on top of, like, you know, with the stacking, we're also gonna have Junior come back,
Mm-hmm.
and with his whatever's going on with his mental capacity
Right. Unclear.
is
Unspecified
unclear.
mental illness number 735.
Yeah, unspecified mental illness. He's gonna come in so hot and heavy that I almost say, okay, go ahead, Tommy. Now is the moment where you can beat him up. Go. But tonally, it's all pitched very weird. All of this.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I get in theory that we're supposed to think Tommy is what the last movie told us he was. That he's
Mhm.
gonna blossom into serial killer, but that's one of the two possibilities that is presented to us. It could also be Jason's back from the grave.
Mm-hmm.
And it once again, the third option is what we go with, but it wasn't an option that was on the table.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating in storytelling terms. It's bluffs within bluffs.
Yeah. Right.
Meta bluffs. Because because we've got two. Basically, the film is structured around two narrative possibilities that are a mystery until we're told it's a third that we could have never considered.
Right. Because why would we?
Not many other films like this.
No, not at all.
It doesn't help as well, like, you know, we're watching people shit and the film is as slow as shit.
Yeah.
At this point. Like, it really goes on a long time.
No, yeah. In this moment, we're... you know, at a certain point, you think, I would like to get back to the halfway house. I can't believe I'm saying this, but can we get back to the halfway house? And it's funny too
with these guys,
because when we get back to the halfway house, it's like the movie remembers it should have introduced these characters to us. Like we're finally getting to know the characters.
Well, like Pam.
Uh-huh.
You know, she's gonna be our final girl, so, and we've barely met her at this point. So it's
all I can think, like, because we go back to the house and Jake. Who does Jake like? I don't remember.
So
Jake is the stutterer. But it also, what I was going to say was that the movie seems as though Jake has to be in this halfway house because he has a stutter.
Right. Which is just like, you know, just like the kid in Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, right.
The other, you know, pantheon of great mental health depictions.
And they do a really strange thing between the death of the brother and the girlfriend and Tommy beats up Junior. So they all three, our final girl, Tommy and Reggie, I think, get back in the truck and go back to the halfway house. But when they come back into the house, all of a sudden Tommy's missing somehow.
Well, he ran off, didn't he? Because then he'd have to account for.
Is there a shot of him running off?
No,
I don't remember one.
This is all my.
Okay.
This is all inference, but I mean, I think that there's a line to the effect of Tommy, you know, he ran away.
I just remember somebody saying, "Where's Tommy?" And I thought, "Yeah, where is he? He came back in the truck with you."
He's there. He's at an after hours joint with Ted and Paul.
Right.
All the people missing from previous movies. And you know the Reggie's brother. He obviously gets the kill on the toilet.
Yeah.
With the glory hole stake impalement. And again, it's going back to part 3. It's sort of like there's 4 black people in the film. 2 of them die in one scene.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, it's
not a huge triumphant score for representation.
No, and you know, I go back and forth on the black people dying first principle, and certainly it's not writ large over this series necessarily. But
no,
when they choose to introduce black characters, they do tend to kill them off en masse.
I mean, Reggie lives
very quickly. Yeah, well, his granddad doesn't.
No, very much not.
You couldn't kill Reggie though.
That'd be tough.
You think this film?
That'd be tough to take.
As far as killing Reggie.
Well, Danny Steinman.
It'd be like Night of the Living Dead. It'd be like Night of the Living Dead, I suppose. It's like it all, you know, everything works out fine, and then he just gets shot in the head randomly by a sheriff in the previous scene who thought he was a possum. Listen,
we're about to get to some heavy killing, so why don't we take a last break and we'll come back.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Back to the killing right after these messages.
If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
Stay on target.
and check out the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
Stay on target.
find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to...
Stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you.
And we're back. Finishing up with Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. I guess most fans really hate this one. They consider it quite the misstep, don't they?
Yeah, and as you said in the ranking episode, I think execution is the problem, not the conceit.
Yeah.
Like,
I gravitate towards this as a completely reasonable way to go.
Yeah.
Something different to do.
Mhm.
And absolutely, I don't know if commendable is the right word, but
no, definitely not. It's a viable
but
alternative.
viable, yes, thank you.
Yes, it's not commendable. No one's getting commended for anything they did in relation to this film.
Well, my next note is like suddenly we have a Jake and Robin story. So we're gonna finally care about whether or not these two can get together. Yeah. The stutterer and the girl that doesn't realize that he likes her. That's what I mean. This movie it's introducing things way too late. It takes odd turns that don't work.
It's true. It's kind of interesting, again, like making this home co-ed means that sexual rejection and partner swapping can still be part of the formula.
Yes.
With the last place you really should be having that is in a, transitional home for children.
Yeah. And they're going to pull with Matt what they do with Mom in the last movie. Like, he's going to be gone for a while. And you start thinking, where the fuck is this guy? Because fucking all kinds of shit is breaking loose in this halfway house of yours that you said was a nice place.
Yeah.
We'll find out later it's because he's killed, but...
Sure. They're watching Place in the Sun on TV.
Right.
Montgomery Clift movie, and where he's... a scene where he's contemplating killing his pregnant Shelley Winters.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they raided the Paramount locker.
Right, yeah.
Makes sense thematically.
Absolutely.
What doesn't make sense is the why only when you open the door of her bedroom, why her loud music can't be heard until you open the door. Like, it can't... She's clearly soundproofed that room.
But you don't see it when you go into the room.
No, but you open the door and it comes blaring out.
Yeah.
And before this is before these scenes is where Ethel gets face in the stew.
Yeah, right.
And we do a version of the banana kill, but with a crushed
tomato. And we get Junior beheaded.
That's a good kill. Junior beheaded as well. Mm-hmm. Junior beheaded. But again, as you said, I think I don't know if you said it off mic or I don't know anymore. But it comes as a relief.
No, yeah, I did say that off mic. I was saying.
Okay, yeah.
I read my notes and I said Junior deserved his death, and I thought, oh, that was mean. And then I remembered what he was doing at the time of his death, and I thought, no, I'm absolutely right.
It comes as a relief. You don't want to see him riding around like that any longer.
And he's kind of hard to take throughout the whole movie. It's such a broad performance. It doesn't match anything else. Even his mom. It doesn't even match Mama's broad performance.
Yeah, there's not even internal consistency in their mini movie.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Robin gets her tits out quickly.
Man, I got lots of notes on this. I thought this is where our director, I thought, this is where I would speak up as an actor, you know? There's so much focus on Robin's nipples as she gets into that bed. I would lodge a complaint if I was her.
Yeah. And again, it's not breaking news for this franchise, but it just feels like more of a necessity. Like, we gotta get this.
Yeah.
We gotta get this shot.
But I almost see Danny Steinman behind the camera, just like, you know, like a real creep.
Don't care for those noises at all. Please don't do that ever again.
I'll try to refrain.
Hear that in my nightmares. You got closer to the mic when you did it as well, which is a really disconcerting part of it.
But you know I'm right.
Oh, I absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, it's it happens so abruptly and it's so unmotivated.
Yeah.
At least, you know, previous Friday the 13th movies pretend that there's some kind of plot reason why it should be happening, but apparently Steinman doesn't need that kind of subterfuge in his movies.
Yeah.
And then we get into I don't know what to call it. Is it body popping, mime work? What is she doing?
I put Vi as popping and locking.
Popping and locking?
Yeah.
And I assume she's doing it for real. They didn't altering the film or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, good for her, but what's this got to do with our movie?
Nothing. Absolutely.
Nothing.
Because we don't get to know that character at all.
No, that's true.
The only thing we found out in the behind the scenes in the Crystal Lake Memories is that she was supposed to die via vagina stabbing.
Oh, thank.
And they went a different direction.
Good. Dodged a bullet there.
I'll say.
And then some. Again, I not get a sense that everyone knows that whether they're the killer or not.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
because
totally.
Pam is really playing it like she's the killer.
I wrote down, Pam definitely seems like a killer.
And I wonder whether, you know, sometimes you hear that when it's a murder mystery, you don't tell the actors and you say, you know, you tell them you could be the murderer.
You might be the murderer, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, this whole, like, TV series with, like, 8 episodes where someone who's not the murderer is acting like a psychopath for no reason. This is what it feels like, where you're just like, he's like, shit, you know, people who come back from murder mysteries, like, I really thought I was the murderer, and I really wouldn't have played those scenes that way if I knew I wasn't.
But it's at this moment where because I wrote after she seems like she's a killer, I wrote, we finally see, scare quotes, Jason for the first time in his new mask. And I did think, wow, they really waited a long time for us to see that guy in the mask. I mean, they're going to take it down to the last 25 minutes?
Well, so what are we supposed to be thinking now? Jason's come back from the dead?
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay. And that seems like a cruel trick to play on the audience this late in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
To think that they're actually getting the Jason movie that they wanted to see.
Not only that, but the guy who played him said, I just played him like Jason. That's what the audience wanted.
De facto Jason.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the guy who played Roy, by the way, wasn't doing this work.
No,
none of the work behind the mask.
And Roy, here's another looky-likey for you. Roy looks like Kojak's brother. No, he's Telly Savalas' brother who played one of Kojak's underlings. Stavros, was that his name?
Oh, I won't remember names. I just remember
He looks
Kojak.
like Stavros from Kojak.
That's
who was
great.
Telly Savalas' brother.
I knew what you meant.
And this is the thing, like, the clues are there if you wish to see them, but but the movie's telling you that Jason's back from the dead, so you're not looking for them. Like, for instance, they found the medic dead in the ambulance. So
yeah, right.
He's got, if you go through if you do the sleuths thing, it's like, well, he's got access, But we're not thinking about that because we don't know it's a murder mystery.
No, yeah.
And now we think it's a Jason movie. They kind of write themselves into a corner because, well, firstly the hockey mask, but also he knows Jason's MO because he throws the body through the window. And
Right,
like, well,
yes.
that is so Jason.
That is very
So,
Jason. That's what I wrote.
using corpses as a way of entering a house. So, yes. And then Pam sort of becomes our final girl.
Yeah, but while she's abusing
nowhere.
Reggie, she's kind of shaking him, telling him to
Right.
get up.
Yeah. Reggie saves the day, as Tommy did.
With the bulldozer?
Not as cleverly, but
The bulldozer remind me.
definitely not using intelligence.
No, yeah. The
just
bulldozer
bulldozer.
reminded me of a fish called Wanda.
Yeah.
That's what. Or
And
or
I-
even better, it was more like that Austin Powers moment. Like,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah. And then they go back in the bar, and they're like, "We're really trying to recapture the spirit of Parker
Yeah.
here, because Jason loves his Barnes.
He does like Barnes.
Chainsaws again, which goes back to part
Correct.
2, but this is more like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, where they have a sword fight with. The
Yes,
chainsaws.
right. Because he's
So
not.
That's
This
the new part.
This Jason, even though it's not Jason, is not flailing about, falling over furniture, trying to get away from it. He's just
No.
battling it like he's Errol Flynn.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And Reggie's cheering from behind the hay.
Yes.
So again, it makes it feel more like a Jason fan film than a legitimate
Did we-
entry.
Is the barn after all the running up and down in the forest, though?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny that Reggie immediately runs away from Pam while saying, "Pam, Pam, where are you?" And at least go back in the other direction where you left her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me ask you this, because
no.
what's her name? Melanie Kinnaman, the woman that plays Pam. She gave an awful lot of play in the behind the scenes of her pink sweater that appears and disappears during that chase in the forest.
Yeah.
Do you notice that when you watched it?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, it's there's enough distractions, right? You don't even really know what is happening in the movie, except that Jason might be back from the dead. I mean, that's the best. That's the
Right.
most likely explanation for what's going on.
Yeah. And I think
But
it's
we also know. Oh, have we found out that? Oh yeah. So when we see Tommy and Jason together, we know it's not Tommy pretending to be Jason.
yeah, right.
So that eliminates that possibility.
I thought it was funny too in that moment because it's kind of like the previous girl, the Showtime girl,
Mm-hmm.
because Pam is, I don't know if she's exactly virginal, but she's our final girl. She's the one who's not like anybody else.
Right.
And so she hasn't
Is she
had
having a relationship with Fedora, or did I Mandela effect that from?
No, I think they are.
Okay. God,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christmas.
There's a
why
lot
can't
going
these- why
on
can't
in
the
this
people who-
institution.
Why can't people who run these places keep their hands off each other?
But I thought it was funny that our final girl, who's the girl that, no sex, no drugs, like all of that stuff, but then it's raining, so you can kind of see her tits in the wet t-shirt.
Right.
But in the behind the scenes, it's her that's saying,
It wasn't raining. It was just Danny Steinman threw a bucket of water at her.
that's true, yeah. But it was her that was saying, thank God for that wet t-shirt, because I looked great. It was like all she cared about.
Well,
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, these things are recorded for posterity.
Anyway, back at the barn, I wrote
It's
down
the
that
rematch. It's Tommy versus Jason,
Yeah.
the rematch.
I said
Except,
Tommy gets slashed while remembering the past.
yeah, it's what this movie's been heading to all along, except that's not what's going on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which is this movie in a nutshell. Turns out it's all a lie. The penknife as well. We saw again. We continued that convention. If anything appears on screen for more than 2 seconds, it's going to
It's
get
important.
used. So we've seen him with the penknife. I really like the jump scare of looking over the balcony of the barn and
I really like that
not
too.
Not Jason appearing.
Yeah, it's one of the true, like, really great moments in the movie. It's well
Yeah.
done.
It's really well done.
Yeah.
If only it were Jason. See, this is the thing that gets me. You know, because you were saying that the actor is just like, I assume I'm Jason, I'm going to play it that way. But, like, at what point did they introduce the idea that the killer's wearing a Jason face mask underneath the hockey mask?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because
you have to account for his warped, burnt kind of head.
Which you don't see because he's got a hockey mask on. But it has to look like there's a bald guy under there.
Right. They don't account for it until he falls on the spikes.
Right, and so there's a mask underneath the mask. He's wearing
two masks. Right.
On top of each other. Which he's a really belt and suspenders guy.
Yes.
Because when people see a guy with a knife and a hockey mask, they can go, oh, that's Jason. I mean, I know he's supposed to be dead, but he's got form. And of course, you know, just the moment that underlines the whodunit backfiring is when you see his face revealed through the second mask, the inner mask. You're like, who's that?
Yeah.
And that's not
what you want for your whodunit. You want the gasp of him?
Yeah. And it has to, it has to be.
But you know what's funny is
it has to be explained to you anyway, but also who he is and who he was in the film also has to be explained to you.
Yeah, but what's funny is you do get the gasp moments, not for who he is, but for who he isn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
To what extent that does work, I'm not sure. Obviously, the fans did not like it, but.
Yeah.
But for me, the first time I saw it,
the carnival owner.
Right. For me, the first time I saw it, I went, "Whoa, not Jason!" You know?
Yeah. Well, the movie, you know, every movie up until this point, you think they're just being coy with the fact that it's that Jason's come back from the dead. They want to keep the mystery alive as long as possible, but it's the fake out, isn't it? It's another murder mystery convention is where you reveal the wrong killer before you reveal the killer, and in revealing the wrong killer, you reveal who the killer actually is because of their reaction to it. And that's kind of what we do here.
Right.
In a way.
Kind of.
It's a bit of a stretch. I realize as I was saying, it's a bit of a stretch. But
a bit.
We're playing with that trope a little. We've still got time for one more sexy nurse.
Sure.
Movie's not over. Director has his priorities. We're in the hospital, sexy nurse.
And it feels like we're kind of riffing off the end of 4. We have endings in kind.
So is that nurse scowling at Pam because she has a black child?
Oh, I hope not.
There's no other reason to scowl at her.
That's not a reason either, Tom.
I'm not saying it is a reason. I'm just saying in 1984, that might be that's the only explanation.
Right.
It feels like something the movie would want to comment on at some point.
But they don't. They have to get to the last scare, the broken window and the.
So. Well, we've got to. The cop has got to tell us, you know, that the movie.
Also.
First, that the movie was. That this is about. So there's a lot of reveals here. The first that this is a movie about a copycat killer. Roy is Billy's father.
Mm-hmm.
We were told he was an orphan, so it doesn't jibe with that.
Yeah, it's kind of the sheriff kind of talks around it of.
Yeah.
I guess he just wanted to be close to his son, which he knew was here.
Who he abandoned.
Who he abandoned and didn't ever tell him.
Jesse doesn't want to be close
didn't tell him he ever wanted to be in his life, but was somehow near his life.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's hard to raise a child on a single income, but it's not. It doesn't have a terrible. Like it's not a. You know,
You can do it.
it's probably more than minimum wage.
Right. You know what's my
So-
big takeaway, though?
What?
Tommy's removing evidence from a crime scene.
Yes. Well, absolutely.
He's got a mask and a knife.
Yeah, we never get we never get a satisfactory explanation for that. It's like the Halloween reboot.
Yeah, right.
It's like, how are you gonna get the mask back into Michael's hands? And there's not a really satisfactory information for it. Got it from the DA. Was that what they said? Something like
Yeah, something like that.
but essentially, Roy's cover-up is basically the movie's cover-up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Because he's imitating Jason to hide his own culpability.
Right. The movie is like, don't
He
blame
wants
us.
everyone
Roy
to
did
think
it.
He's Jason. Everyone in the audience wants it to be Jason.
Yes.
And both he dies and the audience don't get what they want. So I guess, like, in the end, that, like, I like that the whodunit quality of the original's back after laying dormant for, 4 movies. But you can't exclude the audience. Part of the pleasure
No,
of
yeah.
whodunit is the audience are in on the game. They're playing it like a game of Clue.
I
So if you
also,
exclude the audience from that equation, you haven't got a whodunit.
well,
You've
that's
got a who is it?
that's certainly a misstep, but I also think that there is something within the haphazard nature, the failings of Steinman as a director, and the kind of sleaziness
Yeah,
that's
that's the word that
is
everyone on set mutually agreed to use in relation
Yeah,
to Study
yeah,
7,
exactly.
Which makes me think that they started with a word that was much worse and then worked
pared down to that.
It's like sleazy. Yeah, legally we won't be in trouble if we say that.
Yeah, that's exactly. But I think I think there's something funny, not charming, but there's something in that. To me, it's like these
There's
movies.
definitely something there.
These movies had a reputation that they didn't earn, and then Danny Steinman said, "Well, let me give you what you thought you were seeing all along."
Ah, that's great. That is so true.
Yeah,
He was like, "You think this is trash?
right, exactly.
I'll make you some trash. I'll do like Uncle Buck cooking garbage trash for you."
Yeah, baby.
That is the best possible
Explanation,
for this
right?
movie, for
Yeah.
this movie. That is, as exactly like maybe that was it. He, as a director of exploitation of porn, he took offense
Right.
at the Friday the 13th movies being called that. It's like, and then proceed. When
Let
he
me
got
show you
his
how it's
shot,
done. Hold my
he was
beer.
like, let me show you how you make the movie that Gene Siskel thinks you've made.
Yes, exactly. Oh man. Yeah, it's not a
Incredible.
good movie, but there's a lot to enjoy, I think.
Well, and so Tommy becomes Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So the ending of this movie makes good on the promise of the last film's ending,
Yes.
which means they're the same ending. Which means
And don't
nothing
forget, this is the middle part of a mini trilogy. Not easy to do, the middle parts of trilogies.
is. Oh, that was the defense. Okay. And then Jason disappears. The hallucination of Jason disappears, which is
Yeah, almost
a
kind of
our
into
final
his body.
It's just a confirmation Jason's really dead, but Tommy is now the killer.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we've spent a whole movie to get to exactly the same point we were at the end of the last movie.
Sure.
But now that we've found ourselves back here, this again would seem to be the way to go on.
Right.
However, the next movie does exactly the opposite. Because
No.
Tommy's not a psycho anymore.
We're gonna
That's
reel
a
it back.
killer, and Jason's not really dead.
Yeah.
So it's just very interesting.
I'll say.
How these movies work, how they kind of contradict each other.
But after the backlash of this movie, you would have had a mandate to bring Jason back in the next movie.
which is exactly the same, and we'll probably talk about this when we cover the movie, as Halloween 3.
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Right.
It's like the next Halloween movie can't be another anthology movie. It has to be.
You got to bring him back.
You got to bring Michael Myers back.
Sure.
And I think it's the same. It suffered from the same kind of fan response, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which certainly I think in both Halloween 4 and Part 6,
They come back gangbusters.
Some of the best movies in the series, you know.
Totally.
So they're vindicated in their choice, but part of you dares to wonder how you could have gone. You know, if you'd have
gone in a different direction, leading directly from this.
Yeah, it's like, again, would they have prevaricated for another movie and gone back and forth on Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
So that you end up in exactly the same space. I don't know.
Talk about big swings. If you went from Jason Voorhees to Tommy Jarvis, you know, like if that was the name, and then you break it out into kind of two halves. Well, did you like Jason as the killer, or did you like Tommy as the killer? You know, you could argue though. You know, get 4 movies of Jason and 4 movies of Jarvis.
Well, 3 movies of Jason.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, forgot about Mom.
That's the other thing that's the other thing that no one wants to admit.
Acknowledge. Yeah.
There is precedent for changing your serial killer mid-series.
Right.
You know, this series did it.
Almost twice.
Yeah, and then it also shows if handled correctly, it can work.
Yeah.
So again, I think the received wisdom about this movie is inaccurate. I don't think it's the choice the narrative choice they made. It's their inability to land.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That choice.
All right. Well, credit check.
Well, I got to talk about Debbie Sue Voorhees.
Okay.
Who managed to snag an audition based on the fact she had the same last name as the serial killer in the movie. That is literally how she got the audition. And I found that out.
Well, that and her big tits.
Well, I found that out on Crystal Lake Memories.
Yeah.
But you know what? I knew it was true.
In my heart, I knew.
Yeah,
all
I
along.
knew that. I knew that it wasn't a coincidence that she was called Voorhees.
No, of course not.
Stunt coordinator Richard Warlock.
Well, we know him.
Well, this is the thing, but why Richard? I was thinking, does Dick Warlock not want anyone to know he's moonlighting?
From one series to the other?
Yeah. It's like he has to go back to the Halloween set. It's like, where have you been the last couple of days? No one.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
My
It's
mom
not
was
like
sick.
I've been working on a rival franchise or anything. Animals provided by Grisco's Animals, Miller Manufacturing. I really hope those aren't part of the same credit. I really hope those are 2 separate companies.
Did you say Crisco?
Grisco's Animals, Miller Manufacturing.
Oh, man.
So that's either a place where they grind up the animals into
Yes.
bread, or it's just 2 perfectly functional businesses.
Have you had any of our chicken bread?
Right. Is it so? Who is it? Joe? Is it Joey? Joey is the kid who gets killed, right? He gets the axe to the back. Is it Joey or
Yes.
Billy?
No, I think it's Joey.
It's Joey. So he doubles with a male nurse in the hospital scene.
Oh, no,
Pretty
wait.
important.
He's Bill.
Right.
It's the boyfriend. It's the axe to the head with surprised lady. He's Billy and the male nurse.
Right. Yeah. So once he died, he was like arrested and taken away. They had him double for a male nurse.
That's funny.
He's the most important character in the movie.
Well, no, this is a different. You're talking about 2 different people. So Joey.
Yeah.
Just played Joey.
But Billy, Bob DeSimone is Billy who killed Joey, right?
No, he's the.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy doing the cocaine.
All right, forget it
I will. Anything else, or was that the last one?
So wait, Billy / male nurse is his cred is the same person?
Yes.
What? Why? Why?
I don't know.
Is it just like such a crazy idea in 1985 that a nurse could be male that they had to spell it out for the idiot? All right, yeah, that's it.
What a good one to end on.
Fuck you. Clutching at straws. I gotta say, these are great horror movies, great sequels, terrible credits.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
And you think there would be, right? You feel like there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but
I guess, but they are, early,
grinding
80s
animals into bread. There's not much going on.
80s are still we're not at the 20 minutes worth of credits like we are today.
I don't need to be 20 minutes. I just need that 5 minutes to be meaty. And these are not very meaty.
Write a letter
to the past.
Yeah, exactly. Dear Paramount.
Right. What a great use of my time machine. I was just looking for the right reason to use it. Now that I've invented it, I couldn't find anything to use it for. I could write a letter to the set of Friday the 13th.
You slap a mosquito while you're back there, and everything falls to shit in the present. But you've got your bloated credits, your meaty credits.
That explains why the timeline is so out of control in this series.
Right.
Time travel must have been involved.
Oh man. All right. Anything left for you?
No, that's it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course, there's nothing left. My last note didn't make any sense. When you get to that point, you're done.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of Friday the 13th, The New Beginning? Yay or nay? You're going to have to find us and let us know. So find us on Facebook, Instagram, or nowhere else. Send an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here. I'm from the How Dare You Awards. When you hear us next week, we'll be talking my favorite in the series, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. I'll say.
Or Jason Lives. Or Jason Lives.
I use context clues to say it correctly.
Context what?
Say goodbye to everybody, Tom.
What are them nuts up to now? It's good to see that Reggie, having lived among those patients for so long, is now more sensitive to their plight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. We'll be back.